We have two people that are going to be sharing tonight or today about single parenting, and the first one is Randy M.
Hi, I'm an actor named Randy.
Hi, Randy.
As a kid growing up, I had a lot of friends whose parents were divorced. And I used to talk to them all the time. The main difficult being is that, do you have one favorite parent? Do you listen? Whose side do you take? And how much those kind of problems caused them, and how it affected them. And after getting married and having 3 kids, I didn't want to do that, but my addiction said otherwise. And I don't have to go into any more detail except that my wife left me for my best friend. I didn't get clean right then. It took a while, and after getting clean for a while, it took me a while to be able to get honest and say that because of my addiction, there was no love in the marriage. So she looked outside the marriage for love. Because that was my solution. I had to stop blaming her and stop blaming him, to accept my responsibility to be able to move on. So being a single parent was also, it was part-time on weekends, but it was both using and not using. But the one thing that I did, because I had learned about it, was that I didn't want to try to turn the kids against their mother, because they lived with her. And I don't know how I was able to do that when I was using, but I was able to do it clean too. Because, my kids, I think my daughter was like 30, she was born in 78. Oh my gosh, she's going to be 40. Oh, I'm old. Oh my. So, in her mid-30s, I think, before I started to talk about any of this stuff with her. And I don't know that I've really talked about it much with my 2 sons, who are younger. But I just knew it was the right thing to do. It was difficult. I wanted to blame. I wanted, it's not my fault, And so, I forgot where I was going to go with this, except that I just knew it would be better for them. And then, as they're getting older and stuff, I don't know how we fell out, but my kids and I kind of had a falling out. And one of the falling outs was when my youngest son decided to get married on a July 2nd. I said, oh, well, I'll be at the convention. Fully intending on leaving the convention and going to his wedding. But he didn't catch that. He thought I was going to go to the convention rather than be at his wedding. And I talked to my sponsor about it. I'm like, he won't take my calls anymore, I want to be able to wear a tux at the wedding and stuff like that. And then when I told him what I'd said, he said, well, it sounds to me like you said you weren't going to go there either. So communication with our kids, even after they're grown, is something that's very important, to be fully clear of what I'm saying. And it took several years. At the wedding, of course, I was just some other Joe on the side. When they introduced the bride and groom's families, they didn't introduce me. They didn't even point in my direction, When my daughter got married, this was before she got, and I can't remember how old she was when she got married. That doesn't matter, but I was clean. But her stepfather walked her down the aisle. I was clean and don't remember her wedding. So the here I go. I think I started. The reason why I'm struggling right now is because I want to blame her. That because of all her negativity and poison and stuff, that she turned them against me and to choose their stepfather, and that's just something I had to work through. But it's what happened, And so it's been kind of a process, even with grown kids, that I don't see very often, that to try to communicate clearly, to try to practice spiritual principles in not blaming her or whatever. It took me several years to get back with all of them. And my first way of connecting was just on Facebook. I got on there, and I could follow them, and it took a while before they friended me back. But they would post something, and I'd click like or love, or something, and it took a while. So I guess what I'm sharing is from the beginning, if we can, or as much as we can, or even after whatever happens, that then we become single parents, the ability to be able to have a spiritual relationship with our children can go a long way to keep from causing further damage. Because it's like I'm leaving early. I was thinking of leaving Saturday night, maybe Sunday morning, but I'm going to be driving 4 hours back to Monroe, Michigan, because on Sunday at 3 o'clock, my granddaughter's graduation party. And so I didn't tell my son I'm going to be at the convention, for him to think that I'm not going to go to my granddaughter's graduation party. And but it's a 4-hour trip. I mean, we live in, my home area is Battle Creek Narcotics Anonymous, but we live in Climax, Michigan, which is kind of between Battle Creek and Kalamazoo. But and coming up 131, there's that section where there's 2 lanes going north and 1 lane going south, and I saw how far backed up they were, and I've thought about just driving 75 and going that way and just going to the graduation party, because I'm not looking forward to that waiting in line. But it's going that extra mile, and it's only because of what I've learned in Narcotics Anonymous through doing step work and through having a relationship with my sponsor and having a relationship that I've developed with a higher power, that I've been able to try to get better at being that single parent, even with grown kids and grandkids. Because even clean I've caused damage, I guess that's what I was trying to avoid saying. But even clean I've caused damage that takes time to get over. And I can't give up. I can't give up. I have to continue to try. And if I have to bite the bullet, and if I have to put up that they hate me, I can't just say, okay, and that's it. I've had enough experience in recovery to know that everything, anything, can get better if I keep practicing this way of life. So I'm going to continue to do that. And I don't know, I'm going to just mention this last thing before I close. It's like, I was 20 years old when my daughter was born, and she was 20 years old when my first grandson was born, and my first grandson's 20 right now. And so far, I'm not a great grandpa yet, but I don't know, I guess I look forward to it. Never thought I would live this long. When I was using, I didn't know, I just thought I was doomed to die. Getting clean was, other people could do it, but it was going to be impossible for me. And the possibilities that have been granted through recovery are just priceless, including being able to develop relationships with my children again. Thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, 15 more minutes.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. We appreciate what you shared. Our second speaker is Trish S.
Okay, I'm Trish. I'm an addict. I'm glad that there's a smaller group in here. It's not so nerve-wracking. We're just gonna talk through it. Start doing it. There we go. Okay. Okay. So single parenting. The biggest things that I remember from active addiction are the effects that it had on my son. And I was in this wonderful relationship with this man that I had been with all through high school. And I remember telling him when we were 16, I said, all I want is your blue-eyed, blonde-haired little boy. Oh, okay. It's because of my phone?
It might be.
Okay. So I had told him when we were 16, all I want is your blue-eyed, blonde-haired little boy. And it took me 10 years, and I finally got him. But by that time, I was kind of playing around with stuff. I was getting into, this deep, obsession with chasing the next thing. And kind of, the worst memories I have of using was, times when my face was pressed against the floor because I was so sick, and my son was walking by, and all he wanted was a bowl of cereal. And I kept saying, I can't right now, I can't. And a couple of years went on. We went on like that, and Mom, can we watch cartoons? Mom, sit with me. Mom, I want to do this. And his first birthday went by, and I remember I was making a cake, and he was playing around on the floor. And I remember looking back at pictures and realizing how present I was not at that time. Even if I was there, and feeling like I was doing my best, and feeling like I was, that I was taking care of him. If I went and made him some macaroni, or if I went and got him, some crackers, I felt like I was doing a great job and I needed a pat on the back. But I was so unpresent, that I couldn't enjoy the first couple years of his life with him. My disease took me to a place where I was hopping from shelter to shelter with my son. We ended up living in a tent, and I'm grateful that at that time his father was healthy enough that I could send him home, that my 2-year-old could go back to his dad's house. But I had this yearning to be with my son. I had this yearning to still be a parent, even, while I was using, and I was burying myself in all these drugs. So I would still go to his house, and I would still bring my son to the campsite, and we would sleep there for days. And I thought that I was a good mom. I thought that I was doing my best, and maybe I was at the time. But since I've gotten clean, and experienced a spiritual awakening as a parent, everything, my entire perspective on parenting has changed. When I first got clean, I took my son. I went back to my hometown after getting out of rehab, and I took my son because I knew that where he was not a good place. It was not a healthy place where I wanted him to be. And I was still living in a shelter, and I was going to 90 meetings in 90 days, and I was doing everything that everybody suggested. I went to the meetings, and I didn't get rides from men, and I tried to, just keep my focus straight. And I had this list of things I had to do, right? I didn't have a home, I didn't have a car, I didn't have daycare or a job. And where do you start? Where do you start when you're a single parent, getting clean without any of those things? You can't go to work if you don't have a car. You can't take your kid to daycare if you don't have work or a car or a home or anything to go to. And I remember sitting on my bed just thinking there's nothing that I can do. All I can do is just kind of keep walking through it and doing the next thing that life is calling me to do. And the shelter that we lived in had this wonderful food and this amazing stuff that the pantries brought over. And I tried to make the best of it that I possibly could for my son. And we were living there, and some other girls were using, and I tried my best just to kind of keep to ourselves. So we would sit down there, and I'd start by making dinner and learning how to take a bath, give my son a bath again, and teach him how to brush his teeth. All of the basics that we never got down on a day-to-day schedule. So I really had to start at the basics. When I started to look for a job, that winter was absolutely awful. It was like negative 13 degrees, and the wind chill was really bad. And I pulled him behind on a sled to get back and forth to my community service and to look for a job, and so that I could get cash assistance from the state. I utilized the programs that are there for us to get back on our feet. I know that it's really difficult because some people want to say, well, take advantage of state help or take advantage of the help that's out there. But I think it's there for a stepping stone to get us into the next place. We don't have to feel bad because somebody is helping us. We need it to get to where we're going. So I kept doing those things, and I remember I was so angry. I was, feeling so much self-pity, and I hate what I'm doing, but I have to do it. And I'm doing the right thing for my son, and I was really feeling bad for myself, and my shoes were wet, and we were chased by dogs one day, and just these horrible winter storms would come. And we have a busing system where we live. That is a blessing. I've lived in other places that don't have buses, and something as simple as being able to ride a public bus every day is a huge blessing from where we come from. But I remember just pretending that I was laying down all of my problems in front of me, and I would walk on top of them, and I just kept walking on top of all of my problems. And the reason that I was mad at my son's dad, and the reason I was mad at the world, and all the reasons I thought that I had to get high, I was walking on top of them. And we'd stop at this little green store every time on the way to the bus stop, and I'd let my son, he'd always pick out Pringles and a Hawaiian Punch, and we'd share it together on the bus. And I learned to be grateful for these moments. I got him into daycare. I found a good job. A vehicle was given to me by this program that was in town. And, I really learned to use the help that was out there and to take the suggestions of what people told me to do. Go to 90 and 90. I can do that. When we are at home, there's not a lot of time for us when we're single parents to kind of unwind, and people say meditate and take this time for yourself and do all these wonderful things for yourself and go to a convention and go and do these wonderful things with your friends and go out to eat. And I get mad about that sometimes because I can't. I get angry because I need to go home to my kids. So learning to put myself into a grateful attitude about those things has taken a lot of work. I get to go home and take care of my kids. They want to see me. They keep getting sick all the time lately, and that's just really rough, to be able to make 2-3 meetings a week when your kids are sick and you have other things going on. I know that they say don't put anything in front of your recovery, but if you're sitting there holding 2 children who have fevers, sometimes you just can't make a meeting. I have a network of women and men that I can call at any time and just say, I just need 2 minutes of your time because I don't have 30 minutes to have a conversation on the phone. I just need 2 minutes to say everything that's going on inside of my head because life is messy. Especially with kids, and being in recovery and trying to take care of all of these things. Right now, my life is so messy, and it feels like somebody has taken like they've taken one of those hourglasses and they just keep shaking it up and down. And once in a while, I get into this groove and I can find calm and serenity. But, then something else happens with the kids and they flip it over again. And it's just, it's a trip. It really is. But learning to find gratitude and to have a peaceful attitude about it is what I get from Narcotics Anonymous. I can learn to just let my kids be who they are. I don't have to see, oh my goodness, he's going to be an addict one day because he can't hold still. He will literally dance. He will dance for hours just because he has a lot of energy. He can't hold still. And I've had people tell me that maybe he's ADHD. Maybe he's got this or that wrong with him. I said, that's who he is. That's who he is, and I love him just the way he is. He's a 7-year-old boy. He's energetic. He doesn't like to hold still. He's the sweetest little thing. So I've learned to take a step back and not control. Not control every movement that he does and everything that he is, because he's not me. He is his own person, and he's a person that I really like. Same with my daughter. I have a 10-month-old. And chasing around the difference between having a baby when you're using and a baby when you're not using is a huge difference, a great difference, because I feel like when we are clean, we can be present. It's not just the monotonous, I'm just going to go through the movements. I'm going to love and cherish and nurture these children because I have the ability to do that. And when I start to run out of that love, when I start to run out of, the peace that I need to take care of, the laundry, if I start getting angry about that, or if I start getting angry about dinner time's always really hard. Anybody else have trouble with dinner time? Really hard. And every night it's the same thing. Please eat, just eat. What do you want? Eat or go to bed. You try everything. But I learned to stay patient, and I fill my cup with Narcotics Anonymous, and with my higher power. My higher power works really well for me, outside of the meetings, and I try to use it all to stay connected. And there's also co-parenting. I co-parent with his father, and he's also a member, and he uses the program in the same way. And our primary purpose between the two of us is to make sure that our son has what he needs, and his well-being is met before ours is. And we've learned that here in the program. We've learned to have that unity based on that primary purpose. And it makes it possible for me to take a step back and say, okay, it's not all about what I'm feeling and what I'm wanting, and it's 4th of July and I need him. It's 4th of July and what's kind of best for him? Where's he going to have the most fun? Has he seen Dad in a while? Has he hung out with Mom in a while? What kind of, experiences have we each had lately? And the last thing that I want is, we don't want our families to split up. We don't. I don't think we dream of this, talking about dreams today, that we actually want our families to fall apart, and that we have to send our kids away every other holiday or every other weekend, week, however it works out for you. That's not something that I dreamt of as a kid. It's where my life has taken me. It's a hard thing to swallow sometimes, all the time. I don't know if I have found acceptance for that yet, but to walk through it, to be able to walk through it and feel the whole range of human emotion, to be sad about it, to be angry about it, but to also have gratitude and to step up and go beyond, the normal showing up for my child. It's amazing. It feels so great to be able to, dig deep inside myself and say that there's all this chaos and all this craziness going on out in the world, but inside I have peace to respond to that. One of the biggest things that gets me is that a lot of time we will meet the chaos with a chaotic response. Because that's just, the world kind of feeds our energy, our souls, and kind of, turns us into, we want to be a part of it and we want to be included. But to be able to take that chaos and just reprocess it and turn it into love and turn it into something more beautiful and give it back to the world in that way, it's an amazing thing to watch. I watch other recovering addicts across the room, and I try to pick out all the amazing good things about them. And it's a really cool thing to do, especially with our children. All the cool, amazing things that they could be or they want to do. How can we feed that, and how can we help them to move forward in that way? What does my son want to do with all of his energy? He wants to be Michael Phillips. Is that the swimmer guy? Yeah, okay. Whatever he wants to do. And my daughter, I don't even know yet, that the possibilities are endless. How am I doing on time? We good?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think it's about the unity, and allowing Narcotics Anonymous to be a program of attraction, to our children even. I am living a life of integrity. I am setting that example. And that's the best thing that I can do for them, the best thing, and for the people around me. If you're going to come to me, I want to give you back, a choice, a response that's going to make your day better, or that's going to make your life brighter, even in the sad, dullest times. I can tell you, what I'm going through right now it's heartbreaking and it's devastating. But I can come here and I can share it with people, and, things can get better, and I know that there's a better outlook. I can try to turn it around, and stop the hurt and the pain. It can stop here and it can get better. And that's what we do when we first get clean. When we first get clean, we just stop causing harm. And it's that simple. Single parenting can be simple. It's about being responsible. It's about being loving and finding out who you are. Work the steps and learn who you are and what you're able to give, what you can't give, and what kind of people you need in your corner. Find lots of them. Life changes, best friends, your circles change, your networks change, and keep finding more and more. Keep getting new numbers and just keep going. I know that there's, since I've had my baby, there are times that I can't get to a meeting for 2 weeks. And I know it's crazy, and people say, quit making excuses, go to a meeting. But I know where I'm at, and I get there when I get there when I need to, and I get there when I can, and I make it a priority. But the way that I have my baskets arranged, I only have 24 hours in a day. Only so many eggs can go in so many baskets. I only have so much to give. But I have to fill my basket first. I have to work the steps. I have to share it with other people. I have to help others do the same, and then give it to my children, because I am the one who fills their cup, and you guys are the ones that fill my cup. And that's all I got.